thanks for staying with us on the Sports Show. Time to talk SANFL, Baz. So we thought we'd get the heavyweights in. Luke Marchioro, always in on the ball, but last year's premiership coach, Norwood guru, Jade Rawlings, joins us. Jade, Luke, thanks for coming in, fellas.
Thanks, guys.
Pleasure. Mate, first, we haven't seen you since you won the premiership, so congratulations on that. I know round 4 seems like a long time ago, and season hasn't started exactly how you'd like it. They never do, but I just want to ask you, the expectation of last year, Norwood weren't expected to be in the grand final and go on and win it, versus this year, you're in the grand final, so now you're supposed to do really well. Is there a big difference in that expectation for the team and for you?
Yeah, it's market. Last year, people were probably thinking that the overhaul or the turnover of lists was probably going to preclude us from being in the finals, and then you get momentum, you get everyone on the message, got a healthy group, and yeah, we're playing well at the right time of the year and we're able to get the job done, which is an incredible day and great experience. The journey's the best part, and that's the day itself when you win. No one can ever take it away from you, but how we got there, what we went through to get there was really crucial. And now we're in a situation where it hasn't been an ideal start, and we're right up against it. Teams are more set for you. Still got a fair bit of chemistry to establish. We've got 8 debutants in the first 3 weeks I think we had, and still got people to return. So there are reasons, but by and large we just haven't been playing well. So we've got work to do, and yeah, the pressure's never any different for me personally. It's just like you say, the expectation's set by whoever sets it, and then people you're expected to meet it. So yeah, we'll get going though.
Mate, it's a little bit hard hats on for you because it hasn't been an ideal start, but it wasn't actually a great start for you last year. So that you kind of have something to come back on and say, we're still okay, we can catapult forward.
Yeah, I think it's just so far away of what we want to be for this season moving forward. It's more about getting it right now and what are the key things to go into that to get it right. And yeah, I'm not a massive crystal baller, but I'm about trying to get us playing the right way. And last year we might have been 2 and 4, but our percentage was strong. We're zipping 4 and percentage poor, so we've got a lot of work to do to get back being competitive within the comp, let alone try and forge ourselves into a position to get in that final 5.
Hey, look, you see it through some different eyes. You were at the game last week, Glenelg Norwood, so you saw them last year go on and win the premiership. You've seen a bit of them this year. What's your view from another angle?
I think they've had a really tough first month, and I think you see it all the time with premiership teams. We saw it with the Eagles last year when you lose a few personnel and you're blooding new guys, as Jade said, with some debutants and some young kids coming through. It always takes a little bit of time to click as well. So it was a pretty tough first month to sort of get into it with North, Glenelg, Sturt and the Eagles in the first month. It's a really tricky first month, and when you're trying to get guys acclimatised, it's probably not the easiest way to settle guys into a lineup as well.
So how long do we have to wait here before you think everything will settle down in the SANFL at the moment? Because we got so it's very up and down at the minute, isn't it? People all over the place. So I thought South Adelaide would be pretty good.
Yeah, pre-season it looked that way.
Got an absolute belting. I mean, they're very hard to pick, Luke. How is your tipping going?
I think it's been very up and down for everyone. I think the improvement, some of these teams have signed Central District as well, especially. I think they've been probably the other big surprise packet in the early part of the year. But I think you just see it all the time with how even the competition is, as results fluctuate from week to week. Like South Adelaide's best footy was good in the first couple of weeks, and they've probably dropped back a little bit since that break. So I think we'll see that with swings and roundabouts with a few teams across the whole season.
Centrals are an interesting case here. No, they are, because if you look through the grades where they are, and I had a look yesterday. They're sitting up there in the league. They're not top, but they're up there. But you look at every grade, they are functioning pretty well as a club. Reserves, 19s, 16s, whatever they are now, Centrals are up there in that same 3rd or 4th. So they're improving. They're on the improve.
Speaking with Greg Edwards a bit about what he's been since he's been the CEO, and they've had a real focus on building their club culture up. So their women's team will play finals for the first time this year as well. They've got a really strong contingent that they've been developing and coming through as well. They've also got 6 girls in the underage state teams as well. Their 18s are going really well. They've got a really good crop in that state under 18 group as well. So spending a lot of time developing players and working on their homegrown areas as well. Obviously with some of the developments that are going on in that sort of Two Wells, Virginia, that type of area as well. There's going to be a lot of new housing out there, and a lot of that will go to Central District. So they're really keen on building their development programs and bringing players through the grades as well, which they haven't done in previous years.
Hey, Jade, I'm interested in this with the SANFL, mate. It's different, and you've been in the AFL system, so you've got a wealth of experience there. But when you've got the semi-professional players and suddenly you're playing on an Anzac Day game, and it's not the Saturday game anymore, and it's hard. Guys are working, you're trying to get a routine going for them. How have you found that this year, trying to juggle all that?
Yeah, well, it's been a very abnormal first month for the competition, and really it's who adapts to it the best. So we had a Friday night into a Thursday night, into Easter, into gather round into a Tuesday, into a Sunday. So we haven't played on Saturday afternoon yet. But that's just our reality, and it's how you deal with it. It's a 5-6 day break into a 19-day break into a 5-day break, and it's how you map it out. And it is. It takes until you're involved in professional sport a long time. It becomes your normal just to be at the club all day, every day, train, prepare, and everything works back from game day. But when you're dealing with labourers, a high percentage of our guys are on the tools, and like getting up after a Sunday game to go and work at 6:30 on Monday morning, middle of winter, has got its challenges. So it's second tier footy, that is, to have the competition continue to improve. The programs have got to improve, player performance has to improve, so you've got to be able to train, recover, plan, and it's time consuming. So it's where you really value your time and put energy into to try and get them the most return for your investment, basically.
And I want to ask you, so we digress away, this is a bit more an overview of the SANFL and the AFL. So the new CEO's about to come in, and he's talked about possibly having a trade week now. And I looked at it and I thought, from a coaching standpoint, if I was sitting in your seat, I don't want the mid-season draft because I can lose some of my key players that are, the way to take us forward. Should they drop the mid-season draft and have trade where you can only trade with the players that are contracted in the AFL? Would that be a fairer way and a less impact on the SANFL?
100%. I think the mid-season draft hasn't achieved what it was supposed to. There's some players that have been really successful, like Johnson and Noble and the boy from West Adelaide, Carmichael. They've all gone okay at Collingwood. Yeah. Not too many others. There's a couple that have been successful, but a lot of I believe the mindset of the AFL clubs to get ahead of the next year's draft rather than draft for the now. So I think it's unfair that West Adelaide have Carmichael going really well and they lose him. And South Adelaide went through it with Rucks there for a while, and McEntee and Johnson go from Sturt the other year. We lose Callow in 2021, and we're employed by clubs to assemble something that's half a chance of trying to be a premiership team. And then when another competition can extract players from your list, makes it hard to coach to your full capacity. And we've been affected once with Callow, but I've felt for a couple of scenarios that have made it much harder. For like Glenelg last year, lose Brett Turner and Sam Durden, pretty key midfielder and a centre half back. It's pretty hard to replace. So it's the competition above us is what we all love to watch, and all good teams we follow. But I do think that can be reviewed moving forward.
Yeah, I reckon I agree with that because they're trying to draft the players so no one else gets them. So I reckon the curve on it, if you want to, is if you draft them, you have to play them. So that puts some real heat on the teams then to go, if I take your player, he has to play AFL footy. You can't hide him in another team, you can't not play him. And I reckon then get him at the end of the year, we're pretty comfortable with that.
It's half not the club's fault either. Like they do what they need for that year, and then 6 months later they can't offer 18-month contracts. And so Zane Williams and Brett Turner don't get a proper AFL experience, and celebrated like a first-round draft pick because there's only 10 or 12 picks, but then within 6 months they've played VFL, didn't get a game, and they have to go back. So I don't think it's fair on the player, but the system is what it is. So clubs will maximise what the system offers.
It can also be detrimental to his mindset and his football.
Absolutely.
If he doesn't get, if he gets drafted, that's terrific. He's up. Well, gee, an AFL club wants me. That's terrific. If he doesn't play, that's got to be detrimental to his game. I reckon he's got to be thinking, I'm not good enough.
Yeah, a lot of these guys of mature age who haven't been exposed to it, they are playing second tier to try and reach their dream. And the dream comes and goes in 6 months. That's pretty harsh. Once again, I don't blame clubs because they're just following the rules that are given to them. They have long-term injury that Zane Williams replaces. That long-term injury's got a contract for next year, no spot. So it's the system more that I think threatens really competition and hurts the players.
Well, it's really difficult for the player to come in halfway through the year because the AFL players are more physically conditioned, but they're also into the system. So as a young kid, I have to come in and get physically ready, and then I have to understand the system, so I'm way behind coming in. Anyway, let's talk about the game this weekend because it is a ripper for you, mate. Port Adelaide, Saturday at Alberton Oval. What do we expect?
Yeah, a lot of when you play the AFL clubs, you mentioned it before with South Adelaide, they copped Adelaide with 18 listed, I think it was, and red hot on the Adelaide Oval playing before the AFL game. There's a lot of things that are pretty motivating from an Adelaide perspective. I didn't see the game. So we played Port, I dare say it'll be 12 to 14 of the AFL listed. They had a good win against Westies on the weekend. So always the history between two clubs is obvious. So whether it's at the Parade or Alberton, it always presents as a genuine opportunity for two clubs that generally have long history and don't like playing each other get the chance to play again.
Very quickly here, mate, I had a look at the Luke here noticed, the premiership table. This is before last week. I had a look at there, and Norwood and Port Adelaide were sitting on with the bottom two. I thought, hang on a minute, flip that up the other way.
Won't last long.
You won't.
Yep.
It's something you don't see very often. It was just a bit of a weird one to me, but I mean that'll change obviously.
Quickly,
Yeah,
Luke, how do you see it?
I think someone would think Port Adelaide, sometimes it's about when you play them on a weekend too. So obviously this weekend they played before their AFL team. So again, they'll lose an emergency and they'll lose a sub potentially as well. I think the one thing that Port have that might trouble a lot of teams is their height and their forward line. Playing Visentini and Lysette and Scully and Hayes, all of a sudden you've got four or five blokes over 200 centimetres, and that can be really hard to match up against, as West Adelaide found out on the weekend.
But the other, on the flip side of that though, Luke, you've also got they have to play them.
They do.
But so
Yeah.
it really can unbalance them as well. Like if Norwood think, okay, if it's going to be a little bit damp, maybe those blokes would, you
Might have been why I saw Jade doing a rain dance outside earlier, just to see get a bit wet weather footy. But I think that happens all the time, and you'll see it more and more with the way the teams line up as well. So it's just pure luck of the draw how you shake out with these teams and when you play them during the year, and it has a massive bearing on the competition at the moment.
Yeah, some good games.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the head coach of your footy club doing a rain dance. I reckon that'll be something. It's not a picture I'm trying to get my head either, Jade, just by the way. Hey, mate, I know you're busy. Appreciate your time. Hope it is a good weekend. I hope it does rain for you, Jake, because that might help you a little bit, mate. Stay with us still. Plenty to come.